The following is a presentation of WVUA Sports.
Now it's officially fall. CTKO is back on campus along with the Crimson Tide. The home opener today for Alabama against Florida Atlantic. We're with you all the way right up until kickoff. And we start it all right now on Crimson Tide Kickoff.
Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by Alpha Insurance.
Well, last week the Tide rolled in the Georgia Dome. This week they roll into the stadium for the first Walk of Champions for 2014. Nick Saban and the second-ranked team in America will kick off early in the heat, the sunshine. It's sweltering, 11 a.m. against Florida Atlantic in the home opener. The Owls from South Florida will certainly feel at home this afternoon with the weather. And welcome in, everybody. I'm Gary Harris. We're all over campus today. We've got reports coming up from Chelsea Barton on the quad, and Richard Scott is down on the Walk of Champions to give us a look at the forecast in just a minute. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out it's hot. An exciting time of the year, though, an exciting day to be back in Tuscaloosa for CTKO. The campus is buzzing, and we have a lot of ground to cover before the Tide kicks this thing off in about an hour from now. Here's what's coming up on the show. Former Alabama tight end Lamont Russell will join us live on the set, plus another installment of BJ's Milliseconds. That's going to be interesting. This week it's with local artist Priscilla Wadsworth, who has done some amazing work, plus live reports from the quad, and it's Cupcake Saturday in the Southeastern Conference. We'll explain that coming up in just a bit. But first, it's time for Bama Headlines.
For the latest on the Crimson Tide, you don't need the newspaper. You need Bama Headlines.
First things first, Alabama will see the return of two players to the defense today. Trey DePriest was out for last week's opener against West Virginia due to a minor NCAA infraction. He'll be back making the calls at inside linebacker. And Eddie Jackson has been cleared by the doctors coming off knee surgery in the spring. He is going to see action in the secondary, possibly at corner and star. He was working with the first team at cornerback earlier this week after Bradley Silves struggled against West Virginia. That's who will play. There are also some guys who won't. DeAndrew White went down with a separated shoulder against the Mountaineers. He'll miss at least 2 games. And Jarrett Williams, the star in safety, is out 4 weeks minimum with a bone fracture in his foot. But everybody else is healthy and ready to suit up today. Let's go ahead and go around the horn with the rest of our CTKO crew who are standing by. First, let's head to the quad and hear from Chelsea Barton. Chelsea?
Hey, Gary, that's right, live out here on the University of Alabama's quad, where the atmosphere is one like no other. There's something out here for fans of all ages. One thing's definitely for sure, folks here in T-Town today have been waiting on this day for a long time. And let me tell you, this early kickoff with Florida Atlantic has not kept fans from turning out. We talked to some folks who have been out here since before 6 a.m. It's definitely a warm one out here today, but that's not stopping these fans from cheering on their Tide. We're going to have lots of fun coming up later in the show for Crimson Tide Kickoff. Gary, back to you.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. It's time to get a first look at our forecast today, and Richard Scott, our chief meteorologist. Richard, how's it looking today, as if I need to ask?
This is incredible. This is one of the hottest games I can remember. Temperature's going to be in the 90s a little later today. The heat index over 100. Take it easy. Drink lots of water if you're going to be outdoors. Let's check out those temperatures right now, see where we stand, because it is one of those days you want to try to stay cool. Already, 10 o'clock in the morning, get this, 87 in Tuscaloosa satellite radar. I don't think we could buy a drop of rain right now, but a few scattered storms are going to be possible a little later today. Current conditions, now check this out. This is also bad. The dew point temperature, 72. That means it's extremely muggy. The humidity is 61%. Sunny skies in Tuscaloosa. So go to the game day forecast. We're already warmer than kickoff. Temperatures going to be in those upper 80s at kickoff at 11 o'clock. And again, temperatures get only hotter by halftime We're looking at temperatures near 90 into the game, low 90s, and I can't rule out a stray shower or storm. Now, Auburn taking on San Jose State. Their kickoff a little later, so it will be a tad cooler. Even there's a stray shower or storm. And finally, Mississippi State, the Bulldogs taking on UAB. Temperature's going to be in the low 90s. It will be a hot game over in Starkville, Mississippi. Light northwest breeze, only at 4. But again, over in Starkville, there's still that chance for stray shower or storm. But Gary, it is incredibly hot. And it is awfully early to be this hot, Gary.
Well, thank you so much, Richard. It's absolutely sizzling, and of course, that's why I wore black. I wanted to show you that you can deal with the heat even when you're doing a 1-hour live television show. We're just getting kicked off here on CTKO. Coming up in a little bit, we'll hear from a local artist whose specialty is Alabama football. But next, we bring in a special guest to talk about the times he roamed the field in crimson and white, and he played for 3 coaches, a recognizable face in Alabama football history. There he is, and sitting down with me right now, Lamont Russell joining me here. We'll talk to him right after the break. And stay with us. Don't forget to log on to Twitter to interact with the show using the hashtag CTKO and give us your answer to this week's social media poll question. You see it there. Which SEC team not named Alabama has the best chance to win the West? Send us your answer on Twitter. We're live at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and we'll be right back with more Crimson Tide Kickoff. Stay with us. We talked about offensive balance last week before the West Virginia game, and that's exactly what we saw on the field from Alabama. The Tide did a great job mixing up the run and the pass under first-year offensive coordinator Lane Kiffin, 2 100-yard rushers and a 100-yard receiver for the first time since the BCS championship game against Notre Dame. Here are the numbers: 250 passing yards for Blake Sims, 288 rushing yards, about as balanced as you can get. Yards per pass, 7.6, 5.9 yards per rush. And Alabama's record when rushing for 140 yards or more, 61-1. I don't have to remind you what that win-loss was, though, last year in the Iron Bowl. When Alabama runs a football, they win. And every Alabama football player that's ever come through here understands that. And we're joined now on the set by an Alabama legend, one of the Tide's most reliable tight ends from the mid and late 1980s right in through 1990. Lamont Russell. Lamont, thanks for sitting out here in the heat with me.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you inviting me to be on.
See, this is all by design. You and I are going to have a sauna before the game. We're going to drop about 10, and then we can go eat and enjoy, right?
Yeah, I thought I was the only one sweating this bad, but I see you look like somebody poured some water over your head.
Anybody's going to sweat today unless they're Superman.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you had an interesting career coming out of Aniana. You signed with Ray Perkins.
Mm-hmm.
You redshirted in '86. You played 3 years under Bill Curry. Then you finished up under Gene Stallings, so you saw a little bit of everything. But I want to jump ahead a little bit. '86, as I said, you redshirted. '87, you didn't play a lot. '88, you started getting established under Homer Smith. And then in '89, you had as good a year as any tight ends ever had. 50-plus receptions, 5 touchdowns, magical season offensively. Talk about that year. Of course, you were 10-0 going into the Auburn game, working for Homer Smith, and how it kind of all came together.
Yeah, that was a very exciting year. Our team was a very close-knit team also, and we had the chemistry, I feel. We had a really big victory earlier in the year against Penn State where we blocked a field goal, and that kind of helped us carry on some momentum. And Homer Smith was a great offensive coordinator. Of course, he utilized the tight end a lot, which I'm happy about, as well as the fullback, and used the short passing game, getting the ball out to the players and letting us make some plays. And it was a fun offense to play in, and we had a fun year that year. It was 10-0 going into Auburn, ranked number 2 in the country, and of course lost that one, and it still hurts today.
Yeah, went on to the Sugar Bowl and lost to Miami. You mentioned it with you and Kevin Turner. This was an era where, now the run and shoot had come along with John Jenkins and Mouse Davis and those guys, but still spreading the field, no huddle, up tempo, that we never heard of that. Just throwing to the fullback Kevin Turner and to yourself a lot was kind of a foreign way of playing football, but Homer Smith really utilized everybody that was available in the offense, didn't he?
He did. We had Marco Battle out at one receiver. Craig Sanderson played a lot. Prince Wimley, and just to name a few other guys, and he spread the ball around a lot, got it to a lot of people. Like I said, I had about 51 catches in my junior year. Kevin Turner, I think, had 48, so he's right behind me. And we had several receivers that had 30-something balls. But Homer was a master of utilizing the talent that he had and forming the offense around that.
Of course, Coach Curry bolted after that SEC championship season in 1989. As a player, did you ever feel like he was really accepted, or did you feel like he was accepted and maybe he just didn't do all that he could to stay?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think he ever was fully accepted. He was the first coach that didn't have Alabama ties, and so of course Alabama fans were still very tied into Coach Bryant and all the other coaches, Coach Perkins, that came along that had ties to Alabama. And so unfortunately some fans couldn't fully accept him for that. And I think one thing that kind of put the pressure on him was that he had never beaten Auburn. I think he was 0-8 against them at Georgia Tech, and then of course was 0-3 at Alabama. And you know, you got to beat Auburn in this state.
And then there's another transition for you. Gene Stallings, Mal Moore come in, different offensive philosophy, run the ball, control it, take off clock. You go from catching 51 passes and 5 touchdowns to 28 catches and
no touchdowns.
No touchdowns, yeah. You know, by tight end numbers, not bad, but based on what you've done the year before, ultimately it proved successful. And 2 years after you left, they won a national championship. But talk about that transition and how tough that was for a guy who had been a focal point of the offense to kind of going back to playing a complimentary role in 1990.
Yeah, you're right. It was frustrating because if I'm not mistaken, I know we had at least 9 starters, but I think 10 starters coming back from that 89 team that was 10-0, and I think we do had the SEC conference in a lot of offensive categories. And so we were excited about our potential going into our senior year, and it was frustrating. We got up to an 0-3 start, of course, and then kind of turned it around and had a pretty strong end to the season. But it was frustrating, but, you know, it's just part of life, I guess.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot because I've always heard this. If it's urban myth, you correct me. Is it true that Gary Hollingsworth sometimes would call plays from the previous season under Homer Smith when y'all were in the huddle in 1990?
Well, if he did, it was probably a check off to a run or something. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Roger Schultz is the one that got that myth for urban legend started. And he probably is right. I doubt he would be making that up, but he probably, I think, changed the run from one side to the other side. But me, at the time, I was lined up out wide receiver, so I couldn't hear it.
You can relate to last year's team because last year Alabama went into Auburn undefeated and had it ripped out. Same thing happened to you in '89. What's that like to get through an entire season undefeated and then not only lose, but lose to your in-state rival?
Yeah, like I said, it's frustrating. You know, you got so much right there in front of you, you know, finishing up the season, having a chance for a national championship, and to have it, you know, poured off on you at the end of the season and to your rivalry. Like I said before, when I still think about that '89 loss and I really think about the game and kind of focus on it, it still brings back bad feelings.
We've talked a lot about transition with you and your career, but that's the reality of college football, and certainly this year's Alabama team, transitioning from A.J. McCarron to Blake Sims and Jacob Coker, a new offensive coordinator, kind of a new era, so to speak. What do you see after one game with this football team, and potentially, Lamont, are they championship caliber?
I believe they are. They've got talent all over the field, and it was the first game. And Alabama has struggled with the hurry-up offenses during the season, even when they've had time to prepare for it. And this was the very first game of the year, so I think they'll improve and get better. And I think Sims played a very good game. I think he's got to get better throwing the ball down the field, and I think that's why so many people are excited about Coker, is that they think he has the skill sets to do that. But you know, I have confidence the coach will put the best players on the field.
Real quickly, we're almost out of time, but since you're a tight end, O.J. Howard. I know he didn't catch a pass last week, but boy, he's a physical specimen, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and I've been very excited about him. I've been wanting to see him get the ball more, and with Kiffin there, he's always had a history of utilizing his tight end, and of course, they didn't use him a lot in the first game, but I'm looking for him to really be a more integral part of the offense moving forward this season.
Thank you, Lamont.
Yep.
Lamont Russell, what a treat to visit with him about the good old days and the good new days, too. All right, coming up on CTKO, much more Alabama breakdown, including Nick Saban getting animated about the Tide's focus for today's game. But up next, B.J. Milliken brings us another installment of Milliseconds. This week, it's a local artist who's trying to shine a new light on the Crimson Tide. CTKO is live on campus, counting you down to kickoff. We roll on right after this. We're back on CTKO. What a wonderful day to be a football fan in Tuscaloosa. Here you see some of the atmosphere as we're getting closer and closer to game time right here at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Well, last week we were treated to a new segment on CTKO, and boy, was it exciting. Milliseconds with our producer and assistant sports director, B.J. Milliken. He's standing by with another installment. B.J., what do you have for us today?
Well, Gary, you know, art is really important to Alabama fans. And, you know, when you go into anyone's home in the South, you often know who they pulled for by what's hanging on their walls. Well, Priscilla Wadsworth is the latest in a long line of artists that is blowing us away with her Alabama football art. What kind of got you into drawing and doing art?
I kind of just woke up one day. You know how they say, did you just wake up and decide that you were going to do it? And I saw this fashion model that I was a fan of, and I thought, you know, I'm going to draw a picture of her. I'm going to, you know, give drawing people a shot. I didn't want to just draw, you know, commissions that I was doing for people. That I wanted to draw something that I loved. I remember going to the Bryant Museum and just looking at all of the crystal footballs and everything. So that was just kind of one of those moments where you felt like, this is where I'm supposed to be, you know?
Who is your inspiration?
My inspiration is primarily Coach Saban, but also, you know, the rest of the coaching staff. I mean, they're what make Alabama football magic happen. I watch and see what they do, and you know, it drives me, it really does, to make each drawing my best yet.
Let's go. Has Coach Saban actually seen?
Yeah, I had just finished my marking room drawing. My friend Brad from the Bryant Museum, he sent me a message and he said, hey, Coach Bobby Williams just shared your Mark Ingram drawing on Facebook. And he ended up inviting me to the athletic facility. So I ended up going there that same week. Coach Saban came out and they had me show my stuff to him, and I also showed him the drawings that I did of him, and he kept asking, well, you know, wow, how do you do that? And you know, I don't even remember what I really answered, to be honest. I was just so stunned. I mean, he acted like he was genuinely impressed, so I was just really stunned.
And knowing what you know about Alabama football and Alabama football fans, how special is it to share your art and share kind of a piece of yourself with Alabama football fans?
It's very special because I feel like, even though I obviously can't play football, that I can, in maybe a very small way, be a part of Alabama football. And I mean, that has just been one of the best things, because I've looked up to a lot of them for so long. I feel like, you know, I bring a different light, like I shine a different light on the players, because I don't think there's a lot of people that just draw the individuals. So it's also, you know, letting the fans know the faces of the players and not just the numbers a little more.
What will determine your next subject?
It's going to be based upon who makes the big plays this coming season.
So Alabama football players, be on notice.
Yeah.
You might get drawn.
Yep.
Hey, if you'd like to find any of Priscilla's work, she does have prints and originals available. Head to PriscillaWadsworth.com for her art. And you can also find her on Facebook, Priscilla Wadsworth Pencil Drawings. I feel like I've said your name enough. She's right here with us now. Priscilla Wadsworth, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. You know, we saw in that piece, we saw the Derek Thomas drawing. What kind of inspired the Derek Thomas to be your subject?
Well, you know, the fans have been requesting me to do a drawing of him for a while now, and you know, when they announced that he was going to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, it was just the perfect time for it.
Absolutely, and you know, he is still, as we said in the piece, Alabama's all-time sacks leader. We really a lot of pressure on artists sometimes to get every detail right, because fans are very particular about certain things. Do you feel that pressure anytime when you're doing these drawings?
I do. I've gotten a little bit better about not getting so nervous about it, and I think the most pressure on me for this one was getting the feedback from his son, Darian Thomas. But once he, you know, saw the eyes that I drew and he loved it, I was like, okay, we're good now.
And real quickly before we get out of here, the one you're working on right now is who?
Derek Henry.
Derek Henry. So we'll see if he has a big game today. Gary, I'm going to send it back to you.
Thanks, BJ. I don't know about you, but I'm a little jealous. When's she going to do a portrait of you and I, the sports team?
I don't know. We'll have to ask her.
All right. I don't think anytime soon. Thanks, BJ. Well, you know, motivation wasn't hard to come by this offseason as Alabama prepared for West Virginia, but with Florida Atlantic on tap this week, there's always a concern of a letdown against an inferior opponent. Nick Saban is always cautious to respect every team on the schedule, and this week, of course, no different. The coach made sure that the media and his players got the message that Alabama's focus has to be present come 11 a.m. on Saturday.
It doesn't really have anything to do with who you're playing. It has everything to do with who you are, right, and how you respond to the challenge of going out and doing the things that we need to do to improve and play better. And we're not where we need to be. We're not the team that we can be. If we're playing against Michael Jordan, we play our best game. But if we're playing against just another old basketball player, then we play just like another old basketball player. Is that your thinking on this? Because it's not mine. All right, so, and if it's our players' thinking, I can tell you right now, I'm going to be pretty pissed about it.
Well, that message is usually received by the players. Here's a look at the non-conference success Alabama has enjoyed under Coach Saban. 27-2 since 2007. That includes 25 wins in a row against non-conference opponents and an average margin of victory of nearly 35 points per game. That's impressive. Well, coming up next, we'll respect the Florida Atlantic Owls and hear from them on their matchup with the second-ranked Crimson Tide. Plus, we'll get a special look at our Spotlight Player of the Week, Derrick Henry, the Beast. He'll be tough to bring down today for the Owls. Andrew Clare will have that story coming up. Much more CTKO is coming your way live from Bryant-Denny Stadium on the UA campus. It's hot and it's happening. Stay with us.
Now, this week's Tailgaters of the Game, brought to you by Krispy Kreme Donuts.
Hey Gary, I'm here with our Tailgaters of the Week. We have John Seal from Birmingham and his crew. John, tell me how long you guys have been tailgating together.
16 years here. Our group is called the T-Town Tailgaters. We come home, we have a great time, but our motto is go big or go home. So when you look around here, we've got TVs, we've got everything that you need. One-stop shop here, T-Town Tailgaters.
Awesome. I know it's an early game this week. You guys are already out here going strong. You guys are true Alabama fans.
Oh, we got here this morning about 5:45. This is something we live for every day. All the way from Pasadena, we don't miss football games, home or away. Proud to be a part of 15 national championships.
All right, well, big game today. Talk to me about what do you think the score is going to look like today?
Well, we look for a W, whether it's 1 point or 40 points. But I can see at least 3 or 4 touchdowns today. I have a feeling that our friend Mr. Coker or Mr. Sims has something up their sleeve.
Awesome. All right, well, it's my pleasure to present you guys with a certificate for a free dozen donuts every month for an entire year. I hope you guys enjoy them. Is there anything you guys want to say? Can you give us a Roll Tide?
We sure can. 1, 2, 3, roll! Tide! Roll!
Thanks so much. That'll do it, Gary. Back to you.
Thanks, Chelsea. Good stuff. And welcome back to Crimson Tide Kickoff live from the University of Alabama. We're counting you down to kickoff of the Crimson Tide's 2014 home opener against Florida Atlantic. Not exactly a big-name opponent, but as we've already heard, Nick Saban wants his team to focus just the same. Now, the season didn't get off to a good start for FAU. They gave up 55 points and nearly 800 yards to Nebraska in Lincoln. Head coach Charlie Partridge is in his first season after being on Brett Bielema's staff at Arkansas and Wisconsin. He knows this team has an uphill battle today.
We come out and we're a better football team than we were last week, then we've accomplished it. If we win the game because we're that much better, then we've obviously accomplished something amazing. So our focus this week is on FAU.
Here's a look at those ugly numbers against the Cornhuskers. And I tell you, get outgained by 500-plus yards. It's going to be hard to win. And they lost their quarterback in that game, but he is expected to be back today. So I guess that is a positive note. But it'll be tough for them again today at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Well, one of the Alabama players looking to put up big numbers today is sophomore running back Derrick Henry. The Yulee, Florida sensation was a big topic all through the offseason, and he did not disappoint in game one. He's the focus of this week's Player Spotlight.
He was one of the most highly touted recruits in the country, and so far, sophomore Derrick Henry has lived up to the hype. Henry rushed for 113 yards on 17 carries, which were both career highs in the 33-23 victory over West Virginia. Henry says it was the big guys up front who paved the way.
They're doing a great job in camp, so we knew when we got in the game that they'll block well for us. And like I said, I think that as the season goes on, they'll progress and get better. So I was very happy how they did.
Despite the strong start to the season, the Yulee, Florida native says he can improve in every facet of his game.
I can improve on everything, and just everything: pass blocking, running the ball, catching the ball. I feel like I can improve on anything, and every week that's what I try to do: try to improve as a player by practicing hard and just trying to get better.
The Tide's MO has always been to pound the ball, and they certainly continued to do that last Saturday in Atlanta, rushing for almost 300 yards. Henry says the running back corps has a special bond.
We all support each other. We all want each other to do good, and when we're out there in the game, we're all out there supporting each other. When we score, we all go congrats one another and just keep pushing each other through the game and tell us keep working and running hard.
As the season progresses, the Tide will look to Henry and the running backs to lead them down the road to 16. For Crimson Tide Kickoff, I'm Andrew Clare.
Thanks, Andrew. Derrick is going to be a good one, that's for sure, already is, and he's putting up some eye-popping numbers. That's nothing new for the nation's all-time leader in high school football rushing yards. That's in the history of the game. Well, still much more CTKO is coming your way, including a tip on some great spots to eat when you're in Tuscaloosa on game day. And next, we're looking at the Tide defense. There were some holes last week, but are we being too tough on that unit? We'll explain and analyze it. And don't forget to vote now in our social media poll. We'll give you the update at the end of the show. There's the question. What SEC team not named Alabama has the best shot of winning the Western Division this year? Vote on Twitter with the hashtag CTKO. And standing by right now on the quad is Chelsea Barton. What does she have for us over there? We'll find out when Crimson Tide Kickoff returns live from the University of Alabama. So you stay with us. We're back on CTKO, and will the Alabama defense that we've gotten used to under Smart and Saban reappear today? Last week they were carved up in the first half by West Virginia, but as we look inside the numbers, it got a lot better as the game went on. In fact, was it as bad as people are saying? Alabama only allowed one offensive touchdown and shut the Mountaineers out on their final 3 offensive possessions. That's really how they won the game. They only surrendered 6 points in the second half, and that was without their defensive signal caller, Trey DePriest. Well, it's time to revive a game day tradition on CTKO. Let's go over to the quad where Chelsea Barton is standing by. Chelsea, what do you got going on over there?
Hey, Gary, we're out here live on the quad, and we've got a special game for you guys. I'm here with John, who is from East Tennessee, and Alec, who's a student here, and he's from Hartselle. What these guys are going to be doing for us today is competing in a contest to see who can draw the best Big Al. Now, this, of course, is going to be timed, so whenever you guys are ready, I guess, 3, 2, 1. Now, Alec, you're a student here. Tell us what year you are and what you're majoring in.
I am a junior and majoring in chemical engineering, and I might be minoring in art after this.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's awesome. Now, John, I understand Alec is pretty artistic, I hear.
Yes, he's won contest when he was a kid, art contest, so I'm probably at a disadvantage.
But you're pretty artistic, too. Tell us what you were telling me earlier about your special talent.
Yeah, I used to build sandcastles at the Seafood Festival.
Do you think maybe you could build a sandcastle of Big Al?
I could, but I had a different theme going when I was doing it.
Alec, talk to me about your strategy here. What are you doing?
I Googled a picture of Big Al on the internet. I'm trying to remember it right now and copy it down on this whiteboard.
Awesome. Well, you guys are doing actually really well. I can tell that that's Big Al on both of you guys' boards. Now, what do you predict the score is going to be today, John?
It will be 96 to nothing.
96 to nothing. Alec, what do you think?
I think the same, in my favor.
Awesome.
Oh.
Oh, you think you're going to win the contest here today? John, do you think that you have a chance against Alec here? That's looking pretty good.
Not much.
Wow, those are really good. I guess I could have had one of you guys draw an owl. Think you would have been able to do that for the Florida Atlantic Owls?
Probably not as well.
Those are looking awesome. Love it. How long have you guys been tailgating?
About 2 hours.
You've been out here for 2 hours?
Yeah.
There's an owl. Okay. Gotcha. Oh, that's so good. All right. We're running out of time, so let's display the final product. Turn it around. John, I'm sorry. I think Alec got you on this one. That's awesome. Look, we got the top of the A right there. You guys are really good. Thanks so much for participating. Gary?
Thank you, Chelsea. That's awesome. I mean, that is some really good stuff as usual. Well, coming up on Crimson Tide Kickoff, it's time to head around the SEC, and I've got some help and some props this week. I'm sure they're going to be tasty as well. We'll talk about Cupcake Saturday in the Southeastern Conference. I think you probably get an idea where we're going. That's coming up after the break. Crimson Tide Kickoff rolls on right after this.
It's game day in Tuscaloosa. The Tide just rolled in Bryant-Denny, and now it's time for some post-game barbecue. This is Game Day Eats. Big Bad Wolf's has been a Tuscaloosa staple for 16 years. Located on the Strip, right outside of the Houndstooth Bar, it's the go-to spot for barbecue.
People love to come here, like when they empty out the stadium, the 2 hours that follow. Those are big rush times for us. They come up here and get something to eat before they head home.
It's a tradition to come get it after the game, and, you know, when the Crimson Tide wouldn't be the same if they weren't here.
What makes Big Bad Wolf so special is their barbecue nachos. They start with a layer of corn tortilla chips. Smother that with nacho cheese, pile on the pork, and then you douse it with as much barbecue sauce as you like. Hot jalapenos are optional.
For anybody who doesn't know what a barbecue nacho is, it requires a fork.
And some napkins.
And lots of napkins.
Just when I'm downtown on the Strip, I decide I want some nachos, so I come here every single time. It tastes like heaven in my mouth.
It might come as a surprise and a disappointment that this street eat comes around only on game day weekends.
If we were open all the time, it wouldn't be special. If you get it 7 weekends out of the year, everybody comes out, enjoys it, and look forward to coming next year. And if we were just a regular restaurant, we wouldn't be that unique.
Even though Big Bad Wolf's only offers their barbecue on game day weekends, they're open all day and night, Friday and Saturday. So that's plenty of time to grab a bite of these perfect nachos. For Game Day Eats, I'm Hannah Mills.
Thanks, Hannah, and it's a good thing we just ran that piece on food, because right now, as we're about to go around the SEC, we have a little culinary help for this week, because with a terrible SEC slate of games, we've dubbed this Cupcake Saturday. And to help me go through these games and these cupcakes, Assistant Sports Director and producer of the show, BJ Milliken. Of course, you and I know a little something about eating cupcakes.
We do. You know, Gary, I couldn't leave you alone to have all of these beautiful cupcakes, so I figured that I'd come up here and help for this segment.
Yeah, they are pretty, by the way.
They are. They're very nice.
Almost look too good to eat, but we'll find a way, I think.
I think we're going to make it.
Here's how we're going to do this.
Okay.
We're going through the biggest cupcakes on the schedule based on the point spreads from Las Vegas, from smallest to largest. And there were a couple of games that were so bad, there were no betting lines at all. So we're going to start with Arkansas State and Tennessee, BJ. If we think the favorite will cover the point spread, we're going to take a bite out of the cupcake.
Got it.
If we don't, then we'll just pass. So the Vols, 17.5-point favorites against Arkansas State. Tennessee won their opener with 21 true freshmen seeing action, and they blew out a pretty good Utah State team. Arkansas State's 1-0. They change coaches, it seems like, every year. In fact, they have since 2011. But you know what? They're usually a difficult out for teams.
Are. That's why that 17.5 kind of makes me a little nervous. I don't know if Tennessee's going to be able to eat that cupcake, you know. So the Vols' schedule is also, if they're going to win, get wins rolled up and get to a bowl, they need to do it now because they've got Oklahoma coming up on the road and they've got Georgia coming up on the road. So those are going to be 2 tough games. So we're going to find out. The Arkansas State cupcake, is it going to stay or is it going to go? Do you think you're going to eat that cupcake? You think Tennessee covers that 17?
You said it makes you a little nervous. It makes me a lot nervous. I think Tennessee's improved, but I don't think they're the juggernaut they looked like last week. Arkansas State always gives big boys trouble. I think Tennessee wins the game, and there's a lot of cupcakes there, so I'm going to pass on this one. I'm not going to take a bite out of this cupcake.
Okay, I too have I think Arkansas State's going to cover that. I think they're going to be good. Tennessee is going to be fine the rest of the year. They're not going to cover that 17.5 though. I'm going to pass on the cupcake.
Yeah, I think our appetite's still going to be satisfied before we're done.
I think we've got plenty more on the table, so don't worry. We've still got stuff. The one that's coming up next, Kentucky and Ohio. Steve DiOrio's from Ohio. He knows a little bit about the
Bobcats. Frank Solich. When you play the fighting Frank Solich's, you better strap it on tight.
Yeah.
Hey,
absolutely.
let me tell you this. You know, we passed on the cupcake with Tennessee and Arkansas State. You know what? I like this Ohio team. Solich, I think he should have never been fired at Nebraska. Wildcats are laying, 13 or so. I don't know, BJ. I'm going to let you go first on this one. How you see it?
I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Mark Stoops, and here's what we're going to do right here.
You're just hungry.
Here we go. Are we looking here? Okay. I'm going to eat that cupcake. 13 points. I think Kentucky gets it. We're going to eat that cupcake.
Hey, that's a real bite, too, now. That's not
a big old bite. Look at that.
You know, our sports intern, Katarina, that's not the kind of bite. She would take a little bitty bite.
Right.
You just rip right into it. Hey, I said, though, you know, when you play the fighting Frank Solich's, you know, you better strap it on tight. I think Kentucky, like Tennessee's, improved. I think this is a fourth-quarter game. I am not going to take a bite out of the cupcake.
Passing on the cupcake.
I'm passing on
Garrett,
Ohio. I'm going to go with the Bobcats. So far I haven't put any extra calories in the system.
I have a little bit. I'm going to keep that one over there for later. Ole Miss next. Now we had to put Vanderbilt in the cupcake category after a 37-7 loss against Temple in the first game of the Derek Mason era. What do you think? Vanderbilt, I think they're getting, 20?
You know, this is our only SEC versus SEC game on the day. Everybody else out of conference. Derek Mason's team looked terrible.
Horrible.
I mean, it makes you think that they were strictly a product of the previous coach, James Franklin, because they were terrible. He gave up on his quarterback way too soon. They were a mess. Special teams, turnovers, all of it was bad. Ole Miss, meanwhile, second half looked good against Boise. Ole Miss is better. But again, you're talking about a Vanderbilt team that won its last 5 games last year.
Right.
They're getting 20 at home. I don't believe they're as bad as they looked against Temple. I hope not, because you know what? Once again, I'm going to let the cupcake slide. I like Vanderbilt to cover here.
They're good cupcakes. Man, 20 points is a lot in an SEC game at home. I think Vanderbilt gets it back together this week, and I think they do cover that, and they don't get blown out by Ole Miss. I think they'll lose, but they won't get blown out. I'm going to pass on the Vanderbilt.
Edgar's Bakery not going to be happy with me because all the cupcakes are surviving so far.
I promise, though, they will be eaten. We've got plenty of people down here who will probably eat these cupcakes. So no hotty-toddy, no cover for the Rebs. The next one, we've got people in the booth saying we have to have those cupcakes. So no hotty-toddy. What's the next game here?
We've got Auburn, a
that's
32-point favorite over San Jose State. San Jose won their opener over North Dakota. That's the good news. Bad news is they got to go to Jordan Hare tonight. Nick Marshall's probably going to start in this one. 32. BJ, I'll go ahead and start since I'm getting a little hungry.
Go ahead.
Gus Malzahn loves to score points. He doesn't care who the opponent is.
No.
He doesn't let up in the second half. Auburn is going to pay 59 on San Jose. This cupcake is going to be devoured. Now, I'm going to have a hard time following up that bite you just had, but here's to you.
Here we go. Auburn going to eat that cupcake. Eat that San Jose State Spartan.
A blowout.
And your mouth is all blue, too, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I saved the blue one. A blowout.
Now, for the last one, my headset's falling off here. The last one, Alabama today, behind us.
Well, what are you going to do on San Jose State and Auburn?
Yeah, that's right. Holding me to it over here.
Doggone right.
40, what is it? What was it, 32?
32, yeah.
Oh, man, 32. I'm going to have to say, I'm going to have to Say we're going to eat that cupcake. We're rolling the Bama video right now, but
Get your bite, and then we'll move on.
Mhm.
So we think Auburn will chop up their cupcake. Alabama, BJ,
Yeah, go ahead.
40.5 points, the largest point spread of the day against the Owls, who got beat 55-7 a week ago by Nebraska. Give me that cupcake.
Yeah.
Alabama, 52-6. The cupcake will be devoured, and here I go.
he's eating it.
Y'all ready?
Here we go. Yeah. Now for me, 40.5. That's going to be tough. Nick Saban.
This is not going to help me keep my girlish figure. You know that.
Let's see. Well, you've only had one bite and two. So
Well,
that's
I'm
not
working
bad.
on a little extra right now.
All right, here we go. I'm going to say, yeah, Alabama does cover. I don't know what the score is going to be, but they're going to cover 40. And here it goes.
This may have to become a regular feature, cupcakes or not.
Oh, good. It's good TV. It's just good TV for those of you who didn't understand me. Mouthful of cupcakes.
And we got a couple extra Alabama cupcakes, I
We
see
do.
here.
Get a shot of those babies right there. Thank you to Edwards Bakery.
Absolutely.
Great stuff right here. And Cupcake Saturday. There it is.
Great game day thought. Get you some cupcakes and enjoy them here on the quad.
Exactly. Let's look at some of those other games.
Yeah, here are the rest of the SEC games. None of them are exactly appointment television, but next week we get a couple more decent conference matchups. But still, it's Alabama, SEC, Auburn football. So all the games, East Carolina, South Carolina is actually an
It's gonna
interesting
be a good
game.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming back on CTKO to get a final check of our game day forecast. How will it look out once they're playing the game and once you start your drive home? Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this. Alabama specialist Adam Griffith goes 4 for 4 against West Virginia, including 3 field goals from 40 yards or more. He became the first field goal kicker since Michael Proctor to do that for the Crimson Tide. Well, that performance earned him the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week award, and he was also one of the Lou Groza Stars of the Week. J.K. Scott, meanwhile, Alabama's freshman punter, also got in on the action. He boomed a 62-yard punt on his first collegiate attempt. Well, hopefully we won't see J.K. much today because Alabama hopes not to punt a lot. Let's get a final check on our game day forecast with Chief Meteorologist Richard Scott. Richard, it's cooled down a little bit. What can we expect today?
Hey, Gary, it's going to be hot for the game. Before we get to the game, I've got a guest here. This is an Alabama football fan. What's your name and where are you from?
I'm Cindy Stevenson, and I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
So you're a big Alabama football fan, right?
Huge. So happy that we're at the first home game. So happy.
What do you think the score is going to be of the game this week?
I'm thinking 49-0. I hate to say that, but
So not a big blowout, but a little bit of a blowout?
I'm hoping that Nick Saban uses this as an opportunity to put in some people that need some experience, and we'll maybe see some players we haven't seen yet.
Awesome. Now, are you going to the game? Are you tailgating, or where are you watching the game?
We are hoping to be in the stadium in the next 5 minutes.
Awesome. Well, get in there and roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll check out the game day forecast and see what's happening. Alabama taking on Florida Atlantic, 11 o'clock in the morning kickoff. Temperatures back in the low 90s, and we'll have some cloud-sunshine mixture at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and I can't rule out a stray shower or storm. Now, the risk of rain for the game time is at about 30 to 40%, so just have that poncho handy if you are going to the game, and some of the storms will produce some lightning, so even if there's not a storm over the stadium, there could be some lightning issues nearby, but again, the chance of that is fairly small, so if you are going to be tailgating, keep that in mind. So, Gary, after the game, looks like it's going to be a hot day, so if you're traveling home, just keep in mind it's going to be a few pop-up storms. Gary?
Thank you so much, Richard. I hope it cools down a little bit, man. It is tough so far.
Yes.
Well, we're wrapping up CTKO. Kickoff is nearing, and next we'll reveal the results of our Twitter poll. Log on now to vote with the hashtag CTKO. Who will win the SEC West this year? We will have the answer. CTKO will be right back as Bryant-Denny Stadium is filling up. Stay with us, everybody. We're getting ready to kick this game off. That's a live look inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. How about that? The Crimson Tide and the Owls about to get it on. The captains meeting at midfield. The Alabama Crimson Tide looking to open the season at 2-0. And something tells me they're going to get that victory today against Florida Atlantic. Well, this season on Crimson Tide Kickoff, we hope to be doing a lot of interaction with you, our viewers. And to do that, we'll head to Twitter and Facebook. Right now, let's take a look at the results from our Twitter poll. The question was, who outside of Alabama do you think has the best chance to win the SEC West this season? And really not a surprise based on what Texas A&M did against South Carolina. 50% of you say Texas A&M, LSU, and Auburn check in at 25% apiece. All those teams are good teams. Heck, everybody in the West is good. You know, Mississippi State and Ole Miss are challengers as well. Arkansas, maybe not so much, but it is a stacked division, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out this season. All right, I want to thank some folks that make this show possible. You're going to see them coming up here in a moment on your screen, but special thanks to our producer, B.J. Milliken, our director, Jen Hamner, our technical supervisor and stage manager, Wyatt Carruthers, our director of news and sports programming, Steve DiOrio. They're all on hand. Our sales manager, Angie Hughes, out here helping out today. And it's a team effort, really is. But we're not done here. In fact, we've got great programming all afternoon for you here on WVUA. Then tonight, following the news at 10, Sports Saturday at 10:15 with B.J. Milliken. Of course, we'll recap Alabama versus Florida Atlantic. And we'll have the other big games of the day, including Michigan State and Oregon, and the Tiger Bowl between Stillman and West Alabama this afternoon in Tuscaloosa. Highlights and post-game reaction from that one as well. That's Sports Saturday tonight at 10:15. This has been Crimson Tide Kickoff. Thanks for watching. I'm Gary Harris. Have a great afternoon, and enjoy the game, everybody, from Tuscaloosa.